Stage one will actually be, I think, our first revisit, which we've talked about. If you've been listening to the podcast before, I think we've explored the idea of revisiting a topic some episodes later. And this week, I want to revisit Marvel's Avengers, the game that came out a couple months ago, maybe now.
Less than a month. No, well, a month and a week.
Month and some change. So It came out a month and some change ago. You can go and see the visible and audible excitement in my voice and like just
it's rough.
So much hope. He didn't know. I didn't know. So basically the game is a failure, both I guess financially from what I can tell, and then it was released I believe today, that on PC globally there are often less than 1,000 global players, which means that the game is doing so poorly that you can't even play matchmaking correctly, which isn't even dialing into the horrible graphical errors. I mean, just glitches over glitches. I mean, the fact that the game's immediately, I guess, forgettable to a lot of people. And I want to talk about the game itself, and then also sort of talk about some of these Destiny kind of looter clones. What exactly was it that this game missed? Why did they miss the shot? Is there room for it to succeed, like when No Man's Sky kind of came back after several months?
That's true.
There's a lot I want to unpackage about this, but first, it should be known, I don't think that it's a bad game. I don't think anyone thinks it's a bad game for gameplay wise, but in my opinion, and I'll ask you guys, they really, really tried to make this a cash cow. They originally released it like it was going to be a single player Avengers game. Great. Then they said it was going to be multiplayer, and then kind of maybe even just not too soon before release, they said it's going to be a looter, which was exciting. And I think I was too overcome with excitement to think of the idea of like they're going to sort of push this in last minute and
I was confused.
Make that the entire game. Yeah, it was. If you go back to the episode, you're like, it's a looter. What the hell? And
this to me was like a complete like sideboard. It was like weird. I didn't expect this to be a looter.
So you're actually the only one of us who played it.
I played it, man. Yeah,
I'll justify why I never played it or even just tried to buy it. But let us know your experience with it so far.
So, man, I jumped into it with the same excitement. I was really curious about when you told me that there was a looter. I was like, I need to experience this. Like, well, how is this a Marvel game, a looter? And it's going to be fun. So I jumped in, man. And I got to tell you, I had a good experience. Like, that first impressions to me were nice. Graphics were cool. Combat feel solid. Some moments you feel like you were a little bit underpowered because in a way I don't think the enemy were like well designed. Like you have these little bitty soldiers fighting against the Hulk, and you say, what's going on? And these dudes can't take a punch from the freaking Hulk. So that was a little bit, it kind of puts you out of the immersion. But otherwise, like gameplay-wise, it felt solid, like you running around as the Hulk. I believe my only concern when I played that beta was the repetitiveness of the missions. Like everything seems to be like a hamster wheel. You go this mission and beat these guys and break this stuff. Go into this mission, beat these guys, and I don't know, like protect something. It was like always some sort of protecting or destroying or something like that. And it was a little bit repetitive in my opinion. Also, I battled one boss. It was like a big robot. That was cool, but as soon as you figure out the mechanic, it was grindy, repetitive, and boring. So I believe that was the main problem to me with this game. That it felt good to play as an Avenger. It's just that the map layout and the missions were just not well designed, in my opinion. So to me, that was the breaking deal for me.
Hey, before I ask Manny, I want to quote what you just said. So I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. So you said the magic word. So you said grindy and repetitive, but then you said boring, because grindy and repetitive can be great, and there's a lot of grindy repetitive that I sincerely love. but according to you and thousands of others on the internet, it wasn't fun. The repetitive missions weren't.
It's fun for a while. It gets to a point where it stops being fun and it just becomes repetitive, and that's when it gets boring. And if it's the whole game is like that, then at the end of the day, it's gonna become a boring game.
And Manny, you played through some of the single player, right?
Yeah, I played some of the single players. I mean, it was like, it's at first it was kind of cool. It's like, damn, you're finally get to play as an Avenger, pretty much like on Will's point. But then it just came to the point that for me, I think it was too much. Like there was a lot going on, and it was just happening so fast. So I'm like, you know what, dude? Like, I don't think this game right now is where it should be, and I could just only imagine if I was to play this with other people online. I feel like it'll just be a bigger mess than what I thought it was going to be just on a single player aspect. I felt like the game just felt a little too rushed, even though like the controllers, for at least the most part of the characters, were pretty kind of fun to play around with. I mean, I was kind of excited to play with Iron Man to begin with, but then when I got to like play with him and his controls, I'm like, yeah, dude, like they could have worked this out a little bit better, to be honest. So I'm assuming hopefully they patch it up when they introduce like War Machine and like other like flight type people. I mean, out of everyone, I think my favorite person to play with was Thor and Kamala. Those are like my favorite people to play with, just because like they're more fun, man. Like just you could do a lot more with them. Like they have like kick-ass powers. It was just awesome. But for me, it was just too much. Like it was just too much, too fast, all at once, and it was just like kind of mentally like just taking me out of the game, kind of.
I think that I believe the main issue to me was, I mean, this was announced as a game as a service type of game, you know what?
Yeah.
And when they release the game like that, you're expecting for basically release a game. I then been working with it. I mean, within time and just make it perfect. It's like an excuse made for just releasing an incomplete game, and I believe that's what this game was. It's like it was released, it felt incomplete, it felt that it needed a little love, and it was like, hey, it's a game as a service, don't worry guys, we got you. But the problem was that this is a $60 game sell as a game as a service. So when I pay $60, I'm expecting a full-fledged game. I'm not expecting like something you're gonna fix in 3 to 5 years. Also, it's a multiplayer game, so Chris is right. There's no players. Multiplayer games, it requires people. It's not going to work. There's a lot of people frustrated. One of the issues that I read was, and I didn't know about this. I didn't know about this when I was playing. Like, you cannot repeat a character. So if you choose the Hulk, nobody else can choose the Hulk, at least on your party. So that means that if there's a popular character, and the problem with this game was games as a service released with a limited amount of characters. There's a limited amount of characters. A lot of people are going to prefer maybe the Hulk. And let's say like 80% of the player base wants to play as the Hulk. There's no matchmaking because everybody wants to be the Hulk.
Yeah.
So
it's just toppling onto an already existing problem.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, you're both echoing the reason why I didn't really give the game much of a chance. I mean, I'm a very firm believer on, you know, I mean, and this may sound hypocritical, but, you know, I usually make my own reviews. But when it's 1,000,000 to 1 and the one is going to cost me $60,
yeah,
I mean, it's really, I'm not going to shoot my shot, but it really has been reminding me, both what you guys are saying and then just the entire internet. Did you guys play or were you familiar with the original release of No Man's Sky?
Mm-hmm.
I was aware of the controversy, never played it.
So I got No Man's Sky at release, launch day. It was just, I was buying games. I didn't have anything to play at the time.
It's on Game Pass right now.
Great. So it's fixed. Actually, it's fixed right now, which is it. So No Man's Sky was sort of a really cool Cinderella story. It came out $60. It's Minecraft in space 3D. If you don't know No Man's Sky, I'm not going to do the injustice of butchering the description of it. It's fixed now. Very great if you like a gathering mining type of game. It's really relaxing. So I got it in release and I was like, hey, this is pretty enjoyable, but it feels incomplete. Got on the internet. Everyone hated it. They were like, this isn't a $60 game. This is a $30 game at best. Most people were saying what I'm saying now about Avengers, which is this is a $20 game.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. Basically, the creator of No Man's Sky and their little team said, hey, we accidentally released it. Well, we released it without, I guess, addressing all of the things that needed to be addressed. So they since did that. They patched it, and now it's a $40 game with multiplayer, which it didn't originally have, and it's just a huge success. It's a lot of fun. I'm wondering if Avengers can have a turnaround, and then we can go either direction, whichever is more exciting to either of you two. I'm wondering if Avengers can have some level of Cinderella story where in a year it's going to be really good because you both had fun playing as Thor, Hulk, or whatever your hero may be. Seems like a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And then my other question is this just a problem with the game industry where because you have this repetitive multiplayer and you have you can pay for cosmetics where if everyone's going to be Captain America or the Hulk, at least you can be Planet Hulk when you get your chance or whatever. And that does include microtransactions even though it's not power scaling. So whichever you guys prefer, just let me know where you lean. Is this a gaming industry problem? Is Avengers going to be redeemable at some point? What do you guys think?
So, Crystal Dynamics, I believe it says that it's very confident that they want players to return and that they will return with the improvements that they're going to make. I believe they got a lot of invested in these characters because again, it's an IP that doesn't belong to them. So I believe they're paying like those IP fees or whatever it is. Now my concern is this: like I believe in a redemption story all day long. It happens with No Man's Sky, like you said. It happens with Final Fantasy 14. It happens with Sea of Thieves. There's a lot of games as a service that have come back from the grave and had done fantastically. Now the problem that I have with this game is that it's very broken at this moment. They're trying to focus so much on fixing those issues that they barely have any time to basically just add content. And while you don't add content, the game is gonna keep diving deeper and deeper and deeper into maybe the player base is just not gonna be there. So it's gonna be hard, not impossible, but I'd say it's gonna be like really uphill for them.
Think it'll end up falling into the forgotten game waste, Manny, or do you think that this has a chance of surviving?
It can redeem itself. And I mean, the fact that they even considered making a game based off the biggest superhero franchise ever, I mean, there's no way they're gonna let this. They're not gonna put this in the closet and just leave it there to collect dust, man. They're gonna have to revamp it for sure. I mean, and the biggest testimony to that is obviously, well, for me, like it's like I went on buying the Ultimate Edition or the Deluxe Edition, and ended up regretting it at that time. Was Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, which like it's a huge cult following.
That's another one, yeah.
Dude, and that game was so bad when it first came out because it was pretty much the same thing, man. Like you had to pay to get these characters and you couldn't even use them for like the long period of time. It's just like very minimum. People take turns, but the fact that they were able to revamp it and pretty much just started all over, fix those patches, it became pretty much the number one playing game again at that point. So they could do the same thing here. Yeah, there's no way they're gonna let this one go to waste. That'll be a huge blow on Marvel too.
That you feel the greediness, man. Like, you know that these games are out there to make money. We understand that, but when they release a game and they force a game out, knowing that it's freaking incomplete, because don't tell me that this developer didn't know that game was freaking broken. It was, and they knew it.
They've got beta testers. Yeah. They've got hundreds.
They were meeting a deadline and they released it like that anyway. And with the audacity of charging $60, like, come on, man. Like that. On
top of transactions, which I'd like to touch on a little bit before we move on. This is a bit of a broader subject, so we can return to this another day as well. But you mentioned Battlefront, which is where I wanted to go next. Originally, when Battlefront came out, they're like, "Oh, it's $40 just to play as Vader." I think EA turned that around pretty quick.
Yeah, man, that was, dude. I don't even want to get into that, man. That was
that's like just
Will, dude. When he saw The Force Awakens, bro.
freaking Star Wars, man, always comes with shit, man.
So that was on top of a $60 game.
Yeah.
Avengers last month released a $60 game and said, "Hey, for $5 you can play as Captain America, Winter Soldier." Surely there will be characters to unlock for $5-10, but it's so much broader than that lately, at least in my mind, because you have games like League of Legends that has been around for some time now, but it's free, and I'm pretty sure you can. I'm not a big League player, but you can unlock the characters by grinding, or you can pay $10 and it's yours. It just seems like more and more and more, and it's not like I don't think anyone didn't see this coming, but the microtransaction model this is going to sound, I don't know, paranoid is not the right word, but it just really kind of it makes my skin crawl a little bit that we're just letting it be so normal. It just seems like it was inevitable. Like, I guess I knew that it was inevitable, but I thought that as a community of gamers, we would somehow say no, we're not doing this, but we never did, and that seems to be our current reality, where every game, including Fall Guys, which is another game I was ecstatic about, you can pay $5 and get the fucking hot dog costume.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool, but is this going to be every game? You know, when am I going to, I mean, is Super Mario Galaxy 3 going to, you know, $5 for Luigi? Like,
it's just depend on the business model, man, because the thing is that
Nintendo won't do that.
Not Nintendo, but, you know, just I just feel like it's going to somehow get worse.
Yeah, but when you're comparing a game like, for example, League of Legends to Marvel, you can't, because League of Legends is not $60 to get into it. And pretty much you can play that game without having to pay a penny, and you'll be on the same level as most people. I play League of Legends. I play League of Legends for years now. And dude, that's one of the best well-made free-to-play games there is out there.
That's probably a bad example because League is so well structured. I mean, it's the same thing with Fortnite. It's also free, and kids love the skins. They're pretty cheap.
It's just asking you that entry pay fee for an incomplete game what gets me. I don't care if you come up with 1,000 skins. It's just that if you're gonna charge me $60, give me a complete game.